Johnston here.
Grillo here.
Kavich here.
Guzikowski here.
Seifert here.
Chandler here.
Great. Has everybody had a chance to look at the April 10th minutes? If there's any corrections, omissions, comments? If not, motion, please.
Seifert moves to approve the minutes of April 10th, 2018.
Guzikowski will second.
Roll call.
And I.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Next up, we have significant common council actions. Carrie.
Council approved an ordinance to approve a conditional use permit for automotive sales and service in a private car wash facility on the properties at 7008 and 7018 South 27th Street and 2500 West Rawson Avenue. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Moving on to new business, item 5A is a review of condition and restrictions for a conditional use permit for a transshipment depot and truck facility and engine repair on the property at 9880 South Ridgeview Drive. Gary?
Plan Commissioners will recall that at the last meeting, this was recommended for council approval. This is in South Branch, in the red area highlighted on the screen. If we go through the conditions and restrictions, which are before the Plan Commission for approval tonight, or recommendation rather, page 1 of 4, section 2A, all requirements of the City of Oak Creek Municipal Code as amended are in effect. Page 2 of 4, under section 3, site use and condition restrictions, maintenance, and operation requirements. A1 transshipment depot facility and truck engine repair in accordance with these conditions and restrictions is allowed on the property. Other uses as permitted in the zoning district are also allowed. B, outdoor storage is limited to the 4 semi-truck parking stalls directly related to the operation of the business as shown in Exhibit A are also allowed. Outdoor storage of materials, other vehicles such as boats, personal vehicles, and recreational vehicles, equipment, and supplies is prohibited. Truck maintenance and engine repair shall be limited to those trucks owned by the business. Contracted or advertised vehicle maintenance and repair is prohibited. All maintenance and repairs shall be performed within the building. Hours of operation shall be between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. This allows a little bit of flexibility from what their current hours of operation are. And the rest of the conditions and restrictions are requirements as per usual. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But if the Plan Commission is satisfied with these conditions and restrictions, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council adopts the conditions and restrictions as part of the conditional use permit for a transshipment depot facility and truck engine repair on the property at 9880 South Ridgeview Drive after a public hearing. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. And if the applicant's here and would like to say a few words, you're welcome to come up now. If not, we'll put it to council. You have to come up on the mic, please. Just name and address and...
Name Maria. Address is 10226 Park Edge Circle, Franklin, Wisconsin. I'm representing Marich Transportation, so if you guys have any questions, otherwise, whatever she said is all correct.
Okay. We'll put it to council, and if we bring you back, we'll bring you back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, anything from the commissioners?
I actually have a question. When is the public hearing?
Public hearing has not been scheduled yet because it relies on the Plan Commission's recommendation for these conditions and restrictions before it can be scheduled. It would be before the Common Council.
Okay, so if something came up from the public hearing and it's negative or it's going to stop or a concern that is legitimate, how is this going to impact that?
The Common Council has the final approval, so they can amend the conditions and restrictions as they see fit during the hearing.
Anyone? Fred? Chris?
Looks good.
Good. Okay. Thank you. I have no other comment either, so it looks good to me. Motion, please.
Seifert moves that the Plan Commission recommends that the Common Council adopt the conditions and restrictions as part of the conditional use permit for a transshipment depot facility and truck engine repair on the properties at 9880 South Ridgeview Drive after a public hearing.
Chandler seconds.
Roll call.
And I.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Guzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Excellent. Okay. Good luck. Thank you. Moving on, 5B. It's a review a request submitted by Jake George to move an existing home at 1900 West Drexel to the vacant property at 84661R South 13th Street. Pete?
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor stated, this is a request to move a home from 1900 West Drexel to a vacant lot that is located at 8461 South 13th Street. Included in your packet is a route that has proposed to go from Drexel down east to 13th Street, then south on 13th to the location. If you're not familiar with this location, it is right in front of West Middle School. There is a vacant lot. They are proposing to locate it on the north end of the proposed parcel. And before this can be moved, the first step is to have the Plan Commission make sure that the house is a suitable design size that fits with the character of the neighborhood and that the route is acceptable. And so, assuming or after this decision from the Plan Commission, the next step for the applicant would be to get a moving permit. And some of the things that are responsible for that is to coordinate with the inspection department, engineering, as well as the police department to get to nail down some of the logistics regarding the move. And one of them is the fact that they need a foundation to place the house on. We don't want them to move a house on, keep it on stilts for an undetermined amount of time. And so they will have to work with staff to get that in place. Taking a step back, the house does meet the zoning district there. It's RS3 single family. It does meet the minimum size, setbacks, and location for that zoning district. And it does comply with the type of use that was expected for the city's comprehensive plan. I don't have any construction plans with you since this house was built at a considerable time. We no longer have the plans. However, the applicant will have to supply construction plans because the building will be taken in pieces to the new site, and will have to provide construction plans as how to put back the house into one piece. As I mentioned, once again, looking at making sure that the site is suitable for the neighborhood, and included in your packet are some graphics showing what the house looks like that is located on 1900 West Drexel. It's the one of two remaining houses that are south of IKEA. They will be relocating this over, as I mentioned, on 13th Street, and this is the image of what that site currently looks like. And just to give you a little context, across the street from that vacant lot is the current housing stock along 13th Street. Staff believes that the home design and size is appropriate for this area and don't see concerns as to why this home could not be relocated to 13th Street. Now, just to give a little detail of the logistics, some of the things that they have to do is coordinate with the police department to get an escort to be able to haul the extra wide load over to the new location. They do have to provide a $25,000 bond in the case that they may damage any infrastructure, so that way we can have that repaired after the move, as well as they have to make sure, again, as I mentioned earlier, the foundation and making sure the site is suitable to have the house and such things as grading plan and whatnot. So if the Plan Commission determines that the proposed location of the home is acceptable, the Plan Commission can recommend approval of the house location within the city. If the Plan Commission approves the request, the applicant will be required to receive a moving permit prior to relocating the home. And in fact, if the applicant does relocate the home prior to a moving permit being issued, the applicant will be subject to a fine of $1,000 per day until the applicant receives a moving permit. With that said, staff makes a suggested motion that the Plan Commission approve the proposed house relocation from 1900 West Drexel to 8461 South 13th Street with the condition that a moving permit is issued prior to the relocation of the home.
Great, thank you, Pete. Would the applicant like to say a few words before we put it to commission?
My name is Jake George.
You guys can go up to the podium.
My name is Jake George. I'm the owner of the parcel and also the one that will be doing the house move. If the commission has any questions regarding this, I'll be glad to answer them.
Need your name and address, please.
Absolutely. Robert George, 3860 East Addison Lane in the fair city of Oak Creek. I'd just like to make one comment that Peter had said that the house isn't going to be totally dismantled. All we're doing is taking the vaulted ceiling rafters off of it to get the loaded height down, so we don't have to disconnect people's power and that during the move. We want to make a pretty soft footprint with this. We don't want to have an impact. I thought I was speaking loud enough, but okay. We thought that that would make a nice, better move, and it wouldn't impact the people in the area.
Questions from the commission? Fred?
Do you have a timetable to complete this move?
I should have touched base with that. We had a meeting, excuse me, yesterday with the police commission, or the police chief, some people from the DPW, and the city engineer, and we had worked out May 6th is what we're hoping to move it at Sunday morning at 3 a.m., so we don't have any traffic issues with people making commutes to work. So in the past, we've moved many homes, and people get a little PO'd when they're stuck behind an oversized load that's moving 2 miles an hour.
What happens to the basement when you remove the house
On the old site,
on the old site?
we've made an agreement with Northwestern Mutual to backfill, to remove the old foundation and backfill with compactable clay and restore the site to an erosion-free seed hay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Chandler, anything? Alderman Guzekowski?
Just on the west side of the street, where is the driveway going to be lined up as compared to the houses across the street? And also, in comparison, the footprint from this new location to the buildings going to the south churches and whatnot, or east, is this closer, right along the driveway of the middle school, isn't it? Pete?
Yes, that's correct. And up on the screen is the driveway that's across from what's being proposed for the relocation. And they have received the necessary approvals to have access to that parcel from Milwaukee County, as that is a county highway.
I do have a resident that has a comment, concerned resident. Mr. Belke, you want to come on up?
John Belke, 8506 South 13th Street. Can I address the gentleman?
Yeah, sure. Just do it on the mic.
You're be building kitty corner from my house. One concern is when the house is moved to that location, which is fine, how high will it be off the ground? Will it be on the ground?
You have to come to.
Yeah, you're going to have to be on the mic. Actually, you can probably sit at that table where it's glowing, where the red light's on. Yeah.
Right here? We should have approximately 3.5 feet clearance from the bottom of the house to the roadway. Is your concern?
No, to the ground where it's going to be sitting down.
I think-
Are we talking about an elevation from when the house is on the foundation?
Yes,
I'm not really sure. I know
because
that.
my concern is it's a school there, and I see the kids running across the fields all the time. I'm just worried about kids crawling in that house. Or
Oh, a safety issue.
yes, that's
Okay.
my concern.
We had already planned on putting a safety fence up once we have the construction underway. Obviously, we have a great deal of work to do in the interim. But yeah, we had planned on putting a safety fence.
Because those are junior high school kids. They got energy to do anything.
Duly noted.
Okay, now, this is on the north side, close to the exit, correct? Of
Yeah,
the school.
Yeah,
As
the
Goose
house,
was-
the house is located on the farther north
Right.
end of the parcel, yes.
Right, where the exit is. As Goose was saying, where is your driveway going to be?
It's illustrated right on the, if you can see where the roadway is on South 13th.
Can you put the
Is there
houses
a
up?
pointer?
Yeah, he's gonna. This is,
Where's my pointer?
And where is the exit for the school? How far will you be from the exit, roughly?
Yeah, you still have to be on the mic, though. So
All right,
It gets used. About 35 to 40 feet, I believe.
all right. Now,
it's like
there's
33 feet.
33 feet? So it's marked out right now with pink flags out there right now,
That's
correct?
correct.
That's where it's going to be. Now, you have 2 lots south of that house, correct?
We have 3 lots south of it.
What's going on with those 3 lots?
We hope to maybe relocate some future homes there in the future.
How close?
If I could interrupt there are no lots at this time. It is one large lot. There has been no certified survey map to
You
divide
are
those
correct.
into multiple. So as of this point, right now, this is one home, one lot. At
There's
future time,
there's
they'd
a
have to come-
potential for it to be divided.
Exactly.
Yes, but at this point, it's one lot, one house.
So is there a future that you'll be building other houses in there near time?
Our hope is to relocate some more, right?
What's the times, like a year, 2 years, 3 years?
6 months, maybe a year.
What about the last lot closest to the south, the tree line? That will be the one farthest to the church.
Okay.
Would that be available to sell to somebody like me who lives across the street?
I guess I'll leave that up to Jake.
All right, if you I want this noted. If you're going to sell it or build a house on there, can I have first shot at buying that piece of land in front of my house?
He decides to sell,
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah.
All right.
Is that it?
Yeah. What can you do?
I actually have a question. So he asked you about the vertical clearance from the house, how far high from the, I
The
don't think I
elevation-
heard, I don't think I heard the answer to that.
I'm not really sure on the elevation. I'm not a surveyor.
So is it going to be a gap between the house and the ground?
No, I think his question was regarding how much foundation elevation was going to come out of the ground. I think it's approximately 18 inches, I believe.
Oh, okay.
No, what she said was correct.
I think that's what I thought I understood.
The
from it.
ground and the house.
When the house is on cribbing?
Yes.
Okay.
How much of a gap can I kick and crawl
Oh.
underneath there is my
I
concern.
apologize. I misunderstood the question.
Yes.
I think we're going to be about 2 or 3 feet.
Okay, because you're going to have kids there and kids will climb over that fence.
And then we will wrap safety fence around the parameter of the house.
But they can jump those safety fence.
If the safety fence is affixed to the bottom rim beam of the house, I don't know how they can walk, unless they're going to walk through a fence, I guess I don't understand.
The security of the site will be addressed with this part of the moving permit.
Okay. Because I would have a concern with
I-
that. Like he stated, kids are across or next to you, and they would do whatever it takes to crawl in and out.
And that's true with any job site, absolutely.
Correct.
And we'll put the safety measures in place so that doesn't happen. Obviously, in a perfect world, but yeah, we will definitely put some caution fence up so that isn't an issue.
Anyone else? Questions? I guess I have a couple. If I heard you right, you're going to move it on May the 6th, the morning of May the
That's what
6th,
we had
early
talked with the
morning.
police chief, yes.
When is the foundation going in? Is this thing
The
going?
foundation's starting on Monday.
So you will drop this thing right on the foundation?
We prefer to set it down.
Or, you know what? That's why you're the professional. You are correct. Yeah. Touche. Very good. No, that's good. I didn't want it kind of laying in pieces. So
Yeah, and there again, we're just looking to take the height out of it. We're gonna, disassembly or the deconstruction of it is gonna be done with kit gloves. We're gonna take and basically re-emulate.
so you're taking the attic off.
It has vaulted ceilings.
So
So we're gonna basically take the rafters off of it to get our loaded height down. And I think we're gonna be approximately 14 feet.
Sir, why don't you come back to the podium so we make sure that you're on mic? It's not just for the people in the room, but it's for the recording as well, that we have to have everybody speak
I
on mic.
apologize.
Thank you.
Yeah, to answer your question, we're going to take and we've orchestrated this with the police chief. During the meeting, we all agreed that the Sunday morning at 3 a.m. would be appropriate on the May 6th. I have Utzberg Company coming in to put the foundation in. Our sewer and water contractor pulled his permits today. He's ready to go. So, I mean, everything we can do, we are doing.
Okay.
Everything kind of lies in your hands at this point.
yeah. Well, you know what? This is something. This is a first for me, at least. I don't know how many we've done in the city, but I know this commission's probably never seen anything like this. So
It is very unique when we do it, and I've moved over 250 structures in my career. Basically, what we're trying to do is it's recycling at its best. If you notice, there was probably 7 homes or 6 homes up on that site that were demolished in the last year. It was shameful because some of these homes were newer than this one. And if something can be repurposed, it should. We live in a recycling age, and we've been living in a throwaway society too long, and that's why I'm in this business.
yeah, very unique, very unique. I just wanted to make sure that the foundation, that it wasn't going to sit for
No,
2
and-
weeks, that you were going to drop it on site,
Set.
set on site.
My son has got a lot of resources dedicated to this project. I can't tell you what a financial drain it's been because he's been doing it all out of pocket. There's no bank involved, and he's a real trooper. So if you can find your way to vote yes for his project, that would be a good thing.
And then after you set it down, it's just a reconstruction.
And it's basically a reconstruction because his mama really wants him out of the house.
So, that's all I really have. So, that was it. If nothing else, no further comment, motion.
Seifert moves that the Plan Commission approve the proposed house relocation from 1900 West Drexel to 13th Street with the conditions that a moving permit is issued prior to the relocation of the home.
Chandler seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Gavich, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Excellent. Good luck setting your home down. Third time's a charm, I guess. Item 5C is a plan review for site, building, and landscape and lighting plans submitted by Dorian Boylan Properties LLC for the new auto dealership at 7008 and 7018 South 27th Street and 2500 West Rawson Avenue. Carrie?
The proposal is for a 26,403 square foot, single-story auto sales and service facility with a private car wash facility at the property as stated. Plan Commissioners will recall that a conditional use permit was approved for this property for this use, and it was approved by council on April 17th. It had previously been approved last year. On the screen before you is the proposed site plan. This is pretty close to what everybody had been seeing throughout the review cycle since 2015 or 2016. The lot, building, and parking areas meet all dimensional requirements. There is a miscalculation at the bottom for the site area, but that can be revised and resubmitted. It's not going to affect the property or the design at all. Access, you'll recall, is via 27th Street on the west and via Rawson Avenue on the south. Approvals from WSDOT and the county are in progress and will need to be submitted prior to the submission of building permit applications for the lot. Parking was reviewed during the conditional use permit review, therefore it is assumed that there are no concerns with the amount or location of parking. There have been no changes since the Plan Commission last looked at this. Loading docks and service areas are throughout the building. They are located on the north, on the west, and on the south, and then for the exits for the car wash. These areas are required by the overlay districts to be placed at the rear of buildings, accessed from service driveways that are completely separated from pedestrian and customer parking areas and completely screened from surrounding roads and properties. Code also requires that loading docks and overhead doors be located so that they are not facing a street right-of-way. However, as we've discussed throughout the review of this project, there is a service door that faces 27th Street that has now been, that now has a canopy over it that kind of shields that from 27th Street a little bit. Additionally, the north side overhead doors will not be visible from the road, and the south side doors are, all of the overhead doors are incorporating glass panels to mimic windows, and that was one of the compromises early on with these overhead door locations. And there have been landscaping features that have been added throughout the site There were a couple of planter walls that you'll see on the west side that will help to shield that slightly, although if you're pulling right into the driveway, obviously the very first thing you're going to see is a canopy for the service center. Code allows for a modification to the building standards by a 3/4 majority approval of the Plan Commission only if supplemental design elements or improvements are incorporated into the project over and above those which are otherwise required, which compensate for the modification of the particular standard. In this case, it would be the location of the overhead doors. The applicant is required to provide written and graphical representation of the supplemental design elements, and additional information was included in your report and packet. The modification requests are supposed to include how each of the requirements are fulfilled by what the applicant is proposing. So one of the things that should be noted is that the applicant has agreed in the conditional use permit process that was just approved to provide escrow to purchase the corner property at 7070 South 27th Street, which is approximately half an acre. There is a CSM that is showing that proposed lot as well. It's an existing lot that was a remnant. However, there's only one other person, as you'll recall, that could purchase this, and that would be the landowner that we're talking about. That's if WISDOT doesn't agree to keep, if WISDOT puts it up for sale and doesn't decide to keep it for itself. This lot would be incorporated into future plans. We've seen some gateway treatment on this corner before, but staff will continue to work closely with the applicants when that time comes to ensure that this is incorporated and provides that gateway treatment that the city is looking for. What's on the screen now is the landscape plan, and there is a detail there for those proposed landscape planter walls that are on the west side and again on the south parking area to kind of screen the corners from Rawson Avenue. This is the proposed trash enclosure. I'm not sure that we've seen this in previous plans. However, you will recall that when this went through the Plan Commission the first time, the trash enclosure was attached to the building. It actually has been detached from the building to allow for a little bit greater flexibility in the use of the building and a little bit of change to it. So this is detached. It's in a landscape island that is just southeast of the building, but it has materials that complement the building. It's CMU block with block cap and steel swing gates. Those gates face north, so they face the building. Landscaping that's south in the landscape islands for the parking areas to the south will help to screen that from the road. All you'll see is probably a little bit of a wall. This is the floor plan for the building. As was stated during the conditional use permit review, it's a one-story building instead of a story and a half, and that made the footprint increase slightly. It's still the same basic layout, though, with customer service showroom to the west and the service area to the north and east, with the private car wash facility attached to the building and only accessible from the southeast. Onto the architecture of the building. These are the proposed elevations. Metal rain screen panels in black, silver, and white are proposed as the primary building materials, along with precast concrete panels, which will be painted white and 2 shades of gray, and extensive glazing. You'll note again that the overhead doors are glass panel. Entry and archway on the west is prefabricated metal panel per brand standards. This was something that we had talked about with the previous review, but we didn't have detail on it. It looks to be the exact same materials as the rest of the building, and the colors are to match. Canopies are proposed again over the service center on the west, over the overhead doors and windows on the north and the south elevations. Metal panels are not listed as acceptable primary exterior building materials and are only allowed as accent materials, comprising a maximum of 25% of the visible perimeter of the building per code. And code also states that the facade of a manufacturing, commercial, office, institutional, or park building shall be finished with an aesthetically pleasing material. A minimum of 75% of the visible perimeter shall be finished with an acceptable glass, brick, or decorative masonry material. So again, this is one of those modification requests. It was something that the Plan Commission had reviewed previously and recommended for approval. Again, in the staff report, there are the overlay districts. Some of that is rehashed from the previous review. It's just a reminder. Some of those were actually removed because they've been completely addressed in the proposed plans, and others are for your information for the modification requests. Again, the extensive landscaping, working with staff to come to this proposal, and allowing for that corner lot to be incorporated in the future when it does come for sale. And these are the proposed renderings of the building. The height did not change from the 1.5 story. It does retain that height so that the overlay district requirements showing at least a 2-story, at least from the road, that it looks 2-story is met with this proposal. That was another thing that staff worked with the applicant to maintain. And that extra height will allow for the screening of rooftop mechanical units by the parapet. If the Plan Commission is comfortable with these plans, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission approves the site and building plans submitted by Dorian Boyland of Boyland Properties, Oak Creek LLC, for the properties at 7008 and 7018 South 27th Street and 2500 West Rawson Avenue, subject to conditions 1 through 7. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Before we put it to council, we do have a citizen that wants to come up and speak. Ed, would you like to come on up?
Ed Lasowski, 6988 South 20, excuse me, 6988 South 27th Street, resident of Oak Creek, before we were a city. So I go way back. I'm concerned about my property is adjacent to this dealership right next door to it there, and the line there. I'm concerned about the buildings and the lighting. How close will that be to my lot line?
We'll get the applicant up. He's probably best to answer where the.
Yeah, how many feet? I want to know how many feet. How close to my lot line will that be?
We'll get him up here. And
Okay.
then, is that the only one, Ed, just the lighting?
Well, lighting in the building.
And how far the building sits from the lot line?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm
The
sure.
drainage and stuff like that, but you address some
Yeah,
of
we
that.
we went over the drainage. Just off the top of my head, I would have to say they wouldn't have presented this unless the setbacks on the building met it from the lot line. But he's probably best to speak to you about where the poles are being located, how far off the lot line.
In the building.
And keep in mind, per electrical code, they do have knockdown shades on them, so they don't get stray light into your property. But we'll bring the applicant up to answer that
Okay, thank you.
one. Okay. Is the applicant here? Come on, would you come up, please? Name and address, please.
Dave Stava, Ingleside, Illinois. I represent Custom Facilities and as project agent for Dorian Boland Properties LLC out of Wisconsin.
Great, Dave. Could you address Ed's questions? Basically, where are you going to put the light poles versus the lot line, and then what's the building setback?
The light poles will be between the curb line and the lot line. There's an area of probably, I'm not looking at the exact, engineered drawings, but I'm guessing there's probably 5 to 10 feet between that curb line. Within that will be the light poles. We have submitted the required photo metrics for the property, indicating the lighting levels. This still has to be reviewed by staff, as Carrie's mentioned to me before, with engineering to make sure that the lighting levels meet current city code requirements. We typically will knock down the foot candles along property lines that are adjacent to residential areas to 0 by the use of, like I think you previously said, Mayor, shades. And the lighting levels will also, I believe the operation is till 9 o'clock at night, other than 27th Street. There's just security lighting after that point.
Questions from the commission, as long as we have Dave up.
If I could jump in here.
Oh, go ahead, Carrie.
It appears from a rough calculation that the building is over 100 feet from the property line.
All within the set. And then again, keep in mind, there's going to be a berm and vegetation separating.
Per our negotiations with the city, Mr. Mayor, and working with Carrie and staff, and the commission, planning commission, we have added a tremendous amount of landscaping along the property line. In fact, there's no more room to put anything else.
You're right, and I just want to read a note on the perimeter landscape requirements. There's going to be 1 tree and 5 shrubs provided for every 35 feet of linear feet along the perimeter parking, with a minimum width of 5 feet. But particular note is the north perimeter, there's going to be 12 trees and 60 shrubs required. 16 trees and 107 shrubs will be provided on that north end. Then there's another note. It says, at the request of the Plan Commission, an additional row of evergreen plantings has been provided as a landscape buffer along the adjacent residential development to the north.
That is correct, and that was a consideration of probably around $30,000 to $35,000 worth of additional plantings. So I think that Mr. Borland has gone above and beyond the call of duty.
Let you know, we really did beef up. I think we went over that a couple, if not the last meeting, the meeting before. So. And keep in mind,
I won't be able to see poor Ed when I'm standing next door.
yeah, well, he may not want to see you either.
No, I have no problems. We get along very well together.
So, but anyways, hopefully, Ed, that helped take care of your questions regarding the lighting in the building.
Okay.
Great. But Carrie did a rough calculation, and basically the north end of the building sits 100 feet from the lot line. Correct.
That's quite a distance. Yes, and that's quite a distance. It'll be bermed with rows of shrubs and rows of evergreens and tall trees. Like I said, Ed, I'm not going to be able to see you anymore. Unless I come here.
Oh, gotta be on the mic, please.
I said, unless I come here, then I can see it. But no, it's we've done everything I think we possibly could, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I don't have any more answers when it comes to landscaping.
Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
We do have one more speaker that would wish to speak. If you'd like to come up now, please. Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Russ Brown, representing Sunshine Car Care LLC, DBA Super Loop Super Splash Car Wash at 6900 and 6906 South 27th Street. Just 2 questions. One may have been answered, just want to confirm. She mentioned a private car wash, so that's not a public car wash.
No, it belongs to the dealership.
So it won't be for public, just for their use.
No.
Okay.
What
yes.
you said, right.
Okay.
You're not in competition.
Okay, that's good. That's very good, because we're right down the road. So, and then I didn't see this talked about yet, but we've seen the maps of the site layout, and we noticed there's a back road that should be heading that would be, what is that, north, and it looks like it cuts into our property line, and I don't know if that was just a bad image.
That's a proposed road, and Brian, do you want to address that, please?
Yeah, that was an officially mapped street pattern. We were working with DOT several years ago about putting an access road from, was it Riverside Drive?
Yeah, right there, yeah.
Down to Rawson, and that proposal fell through. So
Okay.
the proposed road is still there in concept, but is not being installed at this time. So
Okay.
there won't be a road that's going near your property.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Is that it?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Questions from the commission?
I think it looks good.
I actually have a question.
Yeah, go ahead,
Sorry
Christine.
today. So I don't know if it's appropriate to the applicant or Carrie or someone. Have it been looked at the traffic with access, especially the lot is on the corner of 27 and Rawson, which is a high volume intersection? Is it going to cause like delay somewhere? Or?
I would defer to the person sitting next to you.
I know. That's why I looked at him like I'm going to be talking to you soon.
We haven't done a traffic impact analysis on the site. They're looking at, what was it, 40 employees there, and
Correct. We're looking at about 40 employees. We've actually been in discussions as early as, or as late as yesterday with Department of Transportation regarding that. They're all on board on what the location it is. They're right away, after all. I think they know best, so, as long as we stay within compliance with them, you would think they would know.
Anything else from the commission? Brian?
if we could add condition number 8 for the MOU for the future road to go through there. Carrie.
You didn't confuse me. I'm wondering if we address that in the conditions and restrictions for the conditional use permit.
I would just go ahead and put it with this as well. I think you're correct that it was in conditions and restrictions.
I kind of think it was too, but it's been a bit. But
Okay, I'll try and craft something for you.
So in the meantime, you want us to just fill time here while you're thinking? We can do that.
Dave, you don't have any issues with that condition being added in there?
I missed that whole thing. I didn't hear it.
The MOU that we're working on for the future road, basically stating that you know, the
Correct.
property owner, if
Correct.
that road is ever put through in the
Correct.
future, the owner will cover
Correct.
the costs. and
It's on the
dedicate rest
CSM
of it.
now, too.
Yeah.
It's all noted on a legal document, which is the CSM, which I think is where we decided we wanted to put it. It can't be any more apparent than on the certified survey map.
And just for the public, if that road would ever go through, we didn't want to put the whole burden on Boyland either.
Well, I mean, our property, or Mr. Boylan's property, ends short of where that road would eventually go through anyhow. In fact, I think some of that property is yours, Ed. So, again, you know what I mean, there's split responsibilities here.
Question?
I have one question. Do you have a start date for this project?
Can the building department tell me when they're going to issue a permit? I'm ready to go with the permit drawings, but I've been waiting because I am not allowed to submit for permits until I get through a certain portion of these proceedings, and now we're in a position to submit for permit. I don't know what the workload is with current, building department. I'm
Actually,
hoping to phase it, Mr. Mayor, because I don't think we need to address everything, but we need to get going on this, the sooner the better.
yeah, and our permit department is pretty efficient at what they do.
They
Once
seem
it's
to
in
be.
place, as long as we follow the process. When we start stepping out of line with the process is when we start tripping over ourselves.
Correct. And
I know it seems cumbersome, but there's actually a method to the madness. And it's been working pretty well around here for development.
Having built all over the country, I understand that, and I respect the processes. That's why I've been going through what the boss, Carrie, tells me to go through, and she's the boss, as far
She
as
is
I'm
the boss.
concerned. And once we get to that point where we're kind of at that point, working with the county, I have verbals on all these, but now I'm trying to say, hey, that's great, I got verbals, but I need to get in writing, because the boss over here wants it in writing.
Well, if it ain't in writing, it doesn't happen.
That is correct, sir.
The reason I asked the question is that we had this project in front of us 2 years ago, and then it died. So
Well, I can assure you that they're under contract with us, and that it's full speed ahead. I was on a phone conversation this afternoon about tax depreciation and what can come out of the building with the new tax laws that have come out. So I think they're starting to talk about tax depreciations. They're serious to build this building, and GMC more than anything wants this building built.
And as long as I have you here, you can be the messenger for Mr. Boyland or whoever owns the property. It is their responsibility to take care of that sidewalk when it does snow. They have been negligent at that over the last couple of years.
And I'm here to apologize for that. We thought that would come up tonight, and I was told to extend the apologies. There was some transfer with the new leadership group that is handling this. Hopefully, we won't have any more snow this year. Let's cross our fingers.
I'm with you on that one.
But if we do, you know what I mean, we'll address it. There may be even some initial mowing that needs to happen, because I certainly don't want to start to see grass tall, you know, it's pretty hard to read grade stakes when you got tall grass. So once you start to see me out there, and I'll be out there full time, there'll be very, very few issues.
Yeah, great, thanks, Dave. Carrie, how do we look? Ready?
Just a clarification before I give you condition 8. Should this be completed prior to submission of permits, issuance of occupancy?
For occupancy.
Occupancy, okay. And we're ready to go.
No more questions? Motion, please. For condition 8, please defer to Carrie,
I got it.
the boss.
I suppose, since I'm causing the problems. Johnston moves that the Plan Commission approves the site and building plan submitted by Dorian Boylan Properties, Oak Creek LLC, for the properties at 7008 and 7018 South 27th Street and 2500 West Rawson Avenue, with the following conditions. 1, that all relevant code requirements are in effect. 2, that the copies of the access approvals and agreements shall be provided to the city prior to the submission of the building permit applications. 3, that a copy of any wetland fill approval and/or permit from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources is provided to the city prior to the submission of building permit applications. 4, that the plans are revised to include locations for all mechanicals, transformers, and utilities. See condition 7 below. 5, that all mechanical equipment, transformers, and utility boxes, ground, building, and rooftop are screened from view. See condition 7 below. 6, that all corrected calculations shall be included on the plans prior to submission of building permit applications. See condition 7 below. 7, that all revised plans, site with corrected calculations, building, landscape, etc., are submitted in a digital format for review and approval by the Department of Community Development prior to the submission of building permit applications. And 8,
That an MOU for the installation of the future road to the north property line is completed with the city prior to the issuance of occupancy.
Johnston concurs.
Kuzikowski will second.
Roll call.
And I.
Johnston, aye.
Hello, I.
Gavich, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye?
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Thank you. Good luck, Dave. Item 5D, review site, building, and landscape and lighting plans submitted by iDrexel LLC and ICAP Development for a multi-tenant commercial building on a property at 500 West Drexel Avenue. Gary again.
The proposal is for a 6,500 square foot multi-tenant commercial building, which is going to be adjacent to the proposed Aldi building that was just recently approved by the Plan Commission. This is the proposed CSM that shows the lot has been combined. It has not been recorded as of yet. We are anticipating receiving this for signature and recording soon. This is the proposed site. Again, it's on the combined lot with the Aldi. The building meets all dimensional requirements. The access and parking will be shared with the Aldi. The access is proposed off of 6th Street and Drexel Avenue. We have not received any information regarding tenants or hours of operation. However, there are an additional 20 stalls that have been provided with this building. You'll recall that Aldi had proposed 112 parking stalls for the site. The minimum required for that use was 84. So this brings the total on site to 132 parking stalls. The requirements for retail and customer service are 1 space for every 150 gross square feet of floor area devoted to customer service and retail, and 1 stall for every employee on the peak shift. Since we don't have that information, we have to go by what we have, and therefore there appears to be sufficient parking with the shared stalls that Aldi has provided. You will note that there is a potential for a drive-through. If there is a user that requires the use of a drive-through, there will need to be a conditional use permit, and we have some understanding that a conditional use permit request will be submitted shortly. Revisions to the plans have been made based on staff comments with the applicant. Those are provided to you in paper format, and they were provided via email when they were received. Not sure what's going on here, but all right, let me just zoom in. I think that we can get to the landscaping from here. What I'd like to draw the Plan Commission's attention to is for the building itself. You will notice that there are landscape islands basically on 3 sides of the proposed building. There is an exit lane to the north that has been reduced in width to 12 feet. That is an exit only and will be signed as such. That is for the 4 parking stalls on the north to exit. That's also for ease of exit for the trash pickup, which will be in the shaded area that is on the northeast. And if there's anybody who happens to go around the building and decides that they don't want to go through the drive-through, should that drive-through be approved, then there is an exit there for them to move out. However, we are anticipating that this will be limited use. There is a requirement for plantings to be installed at a minimum height of 3 feet for anything that is shielding parking from the right-of-way. In this case, there wouldn't really need to be much, and that would be on the west side. It would also be for those 4 parking stalls on the north. Again, that's not entirely within the visible perimeter, although a portion of it would be, so we would ask that those plants be installed at a height of 3 feet or roughly close to it. As a reminder, all ground, building, rooftop mechanicals, utility boxes, and transformers must be adequately screened per code. This is what the dumpster enclosure has been proposed to be constructed with, which is composite wood deck slats on all sides, including the gates. Staff has made a recommendation that CMU block be incorporated on 3 sides to match the building and also for a degree of durability. We have seen other dumpster enclosures that incorporate more durable materials, and so we're recommending that here as well. What's on the screen before you are the north and south elevations for the building. You'll notice that there are signs that are shown on the building. However, signs are not part of this review. A master sign program will be required to come back before the Plan Commission for review and approval prior to the installation of any tenant signage, and that's because this is a multi-tenant building. You'll notice that there is burnished CMU block in dark gray tone proposed for the base and for most of the wall on the north side as a main exterior building material, along with Nichiha fiber cement panels in 2 finishes, ribbed metallic and wood in 2 different colors, and also storefronts on the south elevation. Per code, the use of fiber cement products requires a 3/4 majority approval of the Plan Commission, and again, code requires that the facade of a manufacturing, commercial, office, institutional, or park building be finished with an aesthetically pleasing material. Again, that minimum is 75% of the visible perimeter with glass, brick, or decorative masonry. So the Plan Commission has in the past approved the use of fiber cement to be incorporated into that 75%. So it's up to the Plan Commission whether or not that is going to be approvable here. The building has been modified from what was originally proposed to more accurately and more adequately screen the proposed rooftop mechanical units, which are the dotted line on the building elevations. So the wall height was raised a little bit so that those mechanical units will be either at or just below the height where the CMU block is, or they'll be screened completely by the parapets. Where, in such a case, those mechanical units would not be fully screened, staff would work with the applicant to make sure that a mechanical screening unit would be installed so that they are screened from the street and within the visible perimeter. And finally, these are the east and west elevations. East would be facing the Aldi building and west would be facing South 6th Street. If the Plan Commission feels that these are acceptable plans, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission approves the site and building plans submitted by iDrexel LLC, ICAP Development LLC, for the property at 500 West Drexel Avenue, subject to conditions 1 through 10. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Is the applicant, they'd like to say a few words? Or you want to wait until we call you up? Come on up.
Brian Adamson, ICAP Development, 833 East Michigan Avenue, Milwaukee. This is, as Carrie indicated, an extension of the Aldi project that we presented last month to the council and to the commission. This is the extension of that, the last bit of site work and building that we propose on the site. We currently do not have tenants for this. We're in discussions with several. However, we would like to start the process here and just understand both the scope and the building that we are working with them on. Those tenants have seen this building and are excited about it. I do have a material board if anybody's interested. I can pass that around if anybody's interested in the materials themselves. What we did with this building is we looked around, obviously Drexel to the south and the Aldi building to the east, and worked on a plan that incorporated a modern touch of architecture with a lot of the elements that are already in the surrounding area. So you'll see some of the horizontal and vertical lines that we have between the two Nichia panels, the burnished block color of the brick, and also the emphasis on glass in the front and the sides. With that, we're pretty excited about how this building will mold in the area. No objections with anything that staff had mentioned on the conditions. We certainly understand the master sign program is required, and we certainly understand that any use of the drive-through, if required or desired, will go through the conditional use permit process. This is just a 3D rendering of the same thing that you've seen, just to give a little bit of scale to the building itself.
Questions from the Brian? Oh, Fred?
I have one major concern is the drive-through. The facility is very limited, and I see some major problems with traffic with a drive-through. I would not support that condition, number 3.
Sure, yeah, understood. I would just ask that maybe we keep that open for this point, just in case it's a drive-through of some sort of limited
No
need at all.
drive-through, no drive-through, okay? That's my opinion, and I will not support a drive-through.
Thank you.
And if it's drive-through on either tenant 1 or 3 on the corners, look at the corners.
It's very narrow. You
Okay.
don't have any means of getting around it if somebody gets in there or you have something. It's a small confined space. I don't see it a good condition for a drive-through. That's my opinion.
I would just think, well, I don't know, looking at, I'd have to go back to the site plan and see that, because the reason why I'm asking you, because I thought about the same thing, in case of emergency or car breaks or whatever, and you have a drive-through, you really have to accommodate for like a shoulder or like an emergency outlet if someone needs some service out there. Also delivery trucks, because most of those buildings will need deliveries, right? So they need to access the back of the building to unload and load.
Yeah, that's correct, and that's really the need for that exit only relief access point that we do have to the north of the building there, on the west side of those 4 parking stalls. We do anticipate that being extremely limited use and really be used really for those 4 what we're considering employee parking, and also that relief valve for that circulation around the building. If somebody comes in there, delivery truck, we anticipate nothing but box trucks coming in there. However, that's exactly what that relief valve is for.
Just along Fred's lines, this is going to be tight. This is tighter than the Qdoba site that I think everybody up here is familiar with. That 16 feet to back out for those 4 parking stalls. Hopefully that is just employee parking there.
Yes.
And they all drive small cars. If you drive a big truck like me, you don't want to be parking back there. And even for the drive-through, making that corner to get around that northwest corner of the building is going to be tight. It's going to be a challenge if that moves forward.
Yeah, the only one I would guess I would reference that is similar to this would be the Associated Bank drive-through, right? I mean, that would be the other one that I'm thinking of that is similar in width, and I don't actually believe that one has a relief at all along that area. Yeah.
When we were discussing the Dunkin' Donuts, it kind of is reminiscent, except that the patio, there's no one walking across it like we had last time. Remember, we had parking
Right.
to the left of it? So all the parking is on the safe area. Right, but no one's walking across it, so to speak. Okay, or that area. So I think, so now you'd be coming out of that tight and then going right onto the main street.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the coming in and entrance, and then if something happens in that lane, how do you really get out and around? So I see some major problems with that.
Yeah, and again, to be clear, we are not asking for approval of a drive-through tonight.
I understand it, but I don't even want to see it in the conditions.
Sure.
Chris? Opinions? Good. You're good. Commissioner Chandler?
I do have a couple questions. Can you go over the details on the entry and exits? Like where cars can enter and or only exit? I know we went over the section at the top, but what about the other entry or exit points?
Do you by any chance have the full site plan?
Yes, give me 1 second to pull up the full site plan.
And just to give you an idea of why I'm asking, I'm just trying to understand the flow.
Yes,
of
understood.
traffic.
Yep. And I admit it's a little hard when we're only looking at what's being asked to be approved today. When you look at the entire site plan and see the Aldi next to it, it's a lot easier to understand how they flow.
Maybe if you can move on to another question while I look this
So
up.
the next item, I noticed there, you speak of a patio. Where is this patio?
Yeah, we understand too that the patio detail would need to be approved with the use. So what we did on this revised plan that you have in front of you in hard copy is we removed the patio from the plan. That's not being approved tonight.
Oh, okay. Okay, so what was a patio, which is that bricked-in area at the bottom, so now that's parking?
It's just a part of the sidewalk.
Oh, it's just the sidewalk, okay. Wow,
All right, so now this is showing the entire site. So there is an access point off of Drexel that is shared with Aldi, and that's here.
So that's, when you say access, so you
That's
can
a-
only enter here? Or
It's a
enter
right-in,
and
right-out.
exit? Okay.
And then there's a right-in, right-out on 6th Street here. There's also an access point here, but that's mostly for the delivery vehicles for Aldi. That's a full access.
Once again, the top left box is right in, right out?
Top left box would be a full access point on 6th Street. It's a right in, right out near the intersection of 6th and Drexel, both on Drexel and on 6th Street. As a condition of the approval of the first phase of this, the Aldi phase, we will be closing the access point and the median there on 6th Street.
I may have misunderstood. I thought one of the exits, or one of the access points was only an exit.
That's for the internal exit.
Okay. Which is the site with the
So if I bring up the proposed site plan. This is the, yeah, so this box right here is showing the interior exit only from the building site.
Okay, so with the building site for the lower left-hand red box, so this access is in and out, or exit and entry?
It's a right in, right out, correct. So northbound traffic on 6th Street can take a right into the site. And then to exit, they would have to take a right out of the site and head north on 6th Street. They cannot take a left out and head south on 6th to access Drexel.
So you would have cars coming out of the driveway and perpendicular to that, cars going left and right. Am I understanding that correctly? They can go either way?
Exiting the driveway, they would be turning right to go onto 6th Street. Entering, they'd be coming from the south onto 6th Street and turning right in. If for any reason exiting the driveway would turn left to go through the site, they would be exiting onto Drexel Avenue. They would have to go through the site, through the parking.
What would prevent them from going the other way?
Nothing.
And once again, the reason I'm asking is just safety issues due to the driveway. Because there's really, I mean, cars can go either way, left or right. My interpretation of what was just explained to me out of the driveway. And even
When you say driveway, what do you,
the drive-through, excuse me, the drive-through. They can go left or right. And then you have cars going left or right. So it could be a safety issue. Because I know we had this issue with one of the other locations as well. We had to do something else in this space. Especially with people walking and so I just want to get a better understanding of any safety measures for your drive-through.
we're not asking for a drive-through tonight, so I can't really comment on that because we don't have a use for it. So we don't have safety measures, not because we haven't thought about it, but because we don't have a use or a user that's requesting it at this time.
So, Carrie, I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So, item 3, the applicant is not requesting that?
What condition 3 is saying is if that access aisle becomes a drive-through, they have to ask for a conditional use permit to use that access aisle as a drive-through aisle. Right now, it's being shown as an access aisle.
It has to come back to the plan
It would have to come back to the Plan Commission to be used as a drive-through.
Okay, here we go.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and
Charles.
how are you, what are the plans to direct traffic on the site?
We'll have significant signage for obviously all the right in, right outs that we have in the single access relief valve on the north. The rest of the traffic flow is kind of your normal integrated parking parking lot that you would see in any typical shopping center. I think the big concern always becomes when you have left turn actions, because those are what require two-way monitoring. Because the two heavily used sites or access points on this site are both right in, right out, I think that will significantly relieve some of the backups that you see when people are looking to queue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll throw my 2 cents in. I'm going to start with the easy stuff. I'm going to start with the building. I think it's a pretty nice looking building. I think it blends into what the proposed Aldi's is. I think it fits pretty nice across from Town Square. It's a modern, clean looking building, a lot of glass. Again, I think as we go through the code, that cement fiberboard is becoming less and less of an issue for us as we update our zoning codes. I think you're going to see that included as a material going forward. That's just my personal feeling.
Dan, I don't think you're on mic.
Oh, I'm not? Oh, sorry. Anyhow, just getting back to it again, clean, modern, a lot of glass, the whole deal. As far as at the dumpster location, whether it makes a difference, if it's on the far east end of those 4 spots or the far west end, would it make any difference one way or the other which 2 spots you took up?
Yeah, we talked to staff about that. They actually suggested we put it against the building on the east side of the building. We figure no matter where it goes between those 2 spots, the dumpsters will be rolled out and accessed. Our hope with keeping it on the east side, to be honest, is we hope that the dump trucks, or I'm sorry, the garbage trucks don't even use that access point on the north side of the building. They actually continue through the truck aisle to the north of it. And we anticipate that happening when we have rolled out dump truck or garbage containers. Our preference would be to keep it where it is because of that reason. It gets a little bit tighter if we put it on the west side.
Oh, okay. That answers that. And then as far as that exit only point,
Yes.
other than the signs, what's going to prevent anybody from, like me, turning in there, turning right, and trying to cheat and get through there?
Yeah, great question. The simple answer is nothing. We could certainly continue to work to actually create it less of a mouth and more of an L shape, so it's truly only an exit from a design as well. I think the fact that it's tight, it's 12 feet, certainly helps with that a lot. I think the natural flow of people, they're not going to want to exit or enter the back of the building. They're going to go around to the parking lot. But the simple answer is nothing there. I mean,
And then last, I'll hit it again, the drive-through. You've heard the commissioners. It's tight. I do equate it to what we have over at Drexel Town Square with Associated Bank. Wasn't exactly a fan of any drive-through at Town Square. Everybody kind of knows that. I was as shocked as anybody when we got a couple. But it's actually functional and works at Associated Bank. I go through it quite a bit. It's tight. I actually think this one, I don't even know if it's as tight as it is at Associated, quite frankly. I understand the reasonings, you should have a exit lane to get around there. I don't know if that's possible. I guess I'd leave it at this, and the commission came to this conclusion by themselves. I don't like to start at a solid no. I like to start at let's see, and as long as this is coming back, because it may never even come that a tenant needs that drive-through. But I hate to close the door on it either way, because we've been through a number of things, and the Dunkin' Donuts comes to mind when we've looked at that one, and we ended up finding a way to make it work. Now, again, it's not perfect, but it's progress. And sometimes perfection's hard to get, but, we want to shoot for as best we can. I don't really see a means of how you can widen that, given where the curb is and what have you. But, Dunkin', we incorporated mirrors and we changed the island stuff around a little bit. Somehow we made it work. I'd have to talk to PD to find out just what kind of a nuisance problem it is there. But if we can do better with it, but again, you guys got the answer. It would come back to us. So again, I think we keep the possibility it could possibly work. It doesn't mean it's going to, but I think the possibility should be there for it.
And Mayor, there's something close to this over by Perkins. If you exit back of Perkins to go out to 20th, you have to make a left-hand turn only. Same instance, it's a sign only, so sure you can go right, but you're supposed to only go left. So there's some signage like that, and I don't know if that's like that because it's private property and they can do that, or if it's the city sign. Brian, I don't know if you know or Pete knows or Carrie knows. But
believe that's private because there's a PUD over there, so if memory serves, there's kind of an interesting property line
Sure is.
over there, so that I believe is all internal and private.
And then I guess the only other one that pops to mind, and you guys are going to have to educate me, Taco Bell is a drive-through. Is that a two-laner where you can get around people? No. How's that one doing?
He's doing well.
I think there's parking stalls on the other side, so if somebody did want to get around, if there's nobody parked there, you can get around.
Yeah, I know. These are tricky questions. And again, you know, the best thing would be is if we could just magically scoot the building 10 feet over, but you cut into the parking lot, and that's not feasible either. But again, I'd like to see the possibility. It may never come, it may never work, but it just, until we know what they're asking for, I just don't want to shut the door on them either. So that's my 2 cents worth. So there's no other questions unless you have any last comments.
I do not.
Oh, I'll call for a motion. Anyone going?
Big ones? All right, Johnston moves that the Plan Commission approves the site and building plans submitted by iDrexel LLC, ICAP Development LLC for the property at 500 West Drexel Avenue with the following conditions. 1, that all relevant code requirements remain in effect. 2, that the CSM approved by the Common Council on December 5th, 2017 is submitted for recording prior to submission of building permit applications. 3, that a conditional use permit request for a drive-through facility, if required, is submitted for review prior to submission of building permit applications. 4, that the plans are revised to show a reduced width to the north interior curb cut. 5, that the plans are revised to include locations for all mechanical transformers and utilities. 6, that all mechanical equipment, transformers, and utility boxes, ground, building, and rooftop are screened from view.
Brian, I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. Conditions 4 and 8 have been met in the revised plans unless you feel that they are inadequate. We can strike those conditions.
Okay, we'll strike 4 and 8. So we will read 7, which will now be 6, that a master sign program is submitted for review and approval by the Plan Commission prior to the installation of any tenant signs. 7, that the plans for the dumpster enclosure are revised to incorporate CMU block to match the existing building. 8, that all revised plans, site building, landscaping, etc., are submitted in digital format for review and approval by the Department of Community Development prior to the submission of building permit applications.
Hannah seconds.
Roll call.
Hannah, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Kuzikowski, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 5E, as a certified, review a certified survey map submitted by Erica Noel Harris from West Park, dividing the property at 300 West Oakview Parkway.
The proposal is to divide the property into 3 lots. Now, the plan commissioners may recall seeing this CSM in a previous instance, and that's because we did review this prior to, I think it was, yes, it was reviewed and recommended for council approval in November of 2016, so this is familiar. The issue is that for various reasons, applicant held the CSM from being recorded, and it has since expired. So this is a reapproval request before you this evening. Statute requires CSMs to be recorded within 12 months of final approval, and since the final approval was by the council in December of 2016, this is before you for reauthorization. It will go to council at the next meeting, should this be recommended for approval. There have been no changes since January of 2017, which included the signatures and all required amendments from that previous approval. If there are no objections, and if the Plan Commission concurs that the CSM should be recommended for approval, there is a suggested motion that the Plan Commission recommends to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by Erica Nicole Harris, Swiss Park LLC, for the property at 300 West Oakview Parkway be approved subject to conditions 1 and 2. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Before we take it to council, we've had some people patiently waiting. Does anybody have any opinions they'd like to express about it? No? Okay. Questions from the commission?
Yeah, I'm just curious about what they want to do with these 3 lots. Do they have any idea?
They do. Lots 1 and 2 have both had proposals not necessarily submitted for your review, although Lot 1 did go through the Plan Commission for an industrial building at the end of 2016, I believe. So those 2 lots would be coming before the Plan Commission relatively soon if this is recommended for approval.
Thank you.
They're all industrial or
Yes,
commercial?
this is in an industrial park.
Okay.
It's a business park.
Any other questions? Brian? Having a good time down there. Anybody else? They may not
May
be
have
in
to
the
answer
house.
that for them. I may have to answer for them.
Oh, okay, okay. Can you give more information on why it was kind of a pause put on this for a couple of years?
They held it, and I believe it was due to transactional requirements. There was something with the end user.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anything going on with it? So motion, please.
Seaport moves that the Planning Commission recommends to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by Erica Nicole Harris, Wiz Park LLC, for the properties at 300 West Oakview Parkway be approved with the following conditions. 1, that all easements and wetlands are shown and clearly labeled on the map prior to recording. That all technical corrections, including but not limited to spelling errors, minor coordinate, geometric conditions, and corrections required for the compliance with the municipal code and Wisconsin statutes are made prior to the recording.
Chandler, second.
Roll call.
Anna, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seaport, aye.
Chandler, aye.
Okay. Just before we adjourn, as always, I want to thank the staff. Did a wonderful job. As always, the IT guy came through as usual. And just a reminder, tomorrow night here at 5 o'clock, is that open to the public? No, never mind. But our next major event coming up will be the Parks Cleanup. Thank you, Chris. That is happening Saturday morning. So if you are interested, here at City Hall at about 8 o'clock, we will start the cleanup. And you can come and we beautify the parks in honor of Earth Day, which happened the other day. So please, if you could, come on out, meet at City Hall. We will have all the supplies and everything. So please join us for an hour or two, making the city a better place for everybody. With that, I'd like to ask you to celebrate and discover Oak Creek, as I always do, and hand it over to adjournment.
Grillo moves to adjourn at 7:24.
Seaport, seconds.
Roll call.
Anna, aye.
Johnston, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Guzekowski, aye.
Seaport, aye.
Chandler, aye.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming.